Now, Bent Larsen is playing on the white side of the board, and Boris Spassky has the black pieces. And we start off with a very interesting opening. Knight f3. Now we can see already that Bent Larsen is going to lose a couple of tempos here with his knight. He has already made 2 pawn moves, and now he's going to make 3 moves with his knight, which is going to cost him some time. In fact, we can already see that Boris Spassky now has the advantage. Yes, just a slight advantage for black, but still an advantage. If we look at this position, we can see that black has 2 pieces developed to white's 1 piece. In addition, black can develop his light squared bishop in just 1 move thanks to the opening of the d file. In addition, black is able to put a rook on the d file and have pressure against white's king, as we're going to see later on. Now if we look at white's position, white cannot place a rook on a semi-open file, and in addition, if white wants to get his light squared bishop out, he must first make another pawn move, which will cost him some more time, and then develop that bishop, which is exactly what happened. And yes, Boris Spassky castles to the queen side and at the same time puts his rook on a semi-open file to place his pieces on their best possible squares and to put pressure against the white king. So really great idea from Boris Spassky. And then Bent Larsen makes another error. He plays f4 here, yet another pawn move. What Bent Larsen should do at this point is simply develop his knight and then look to castle on the queen side, and he'll probably be fine. His king will be out of the center, he'll have some development, and yes, black will be a little bit better, but white could probably get at least a draw. So, good chances for both players. But with f4, there's just too many weaknesses in the white pawn structure, and therefore Boris Spassky begins the attack with knight to g4 and has ideas of queen h4 check. Therefore g3 is played to stop queen h4, but what that does is it creates a target and it really weakens the squares around white's king. Boris Spassky seizes upon this chance and plays h5 to begin an attack and try to attack white's king before it has a chance to castle. Now white plays h3, which is probably not the best move. Black continues forward with h4, completely ignoring the attack on his knight, because he knows that if he can open up the game and go after white's king, that he will have more than enough for the sacrifice piece. In the actual game, Larsen takes the knight. Let's take a look at what happens if the pawn is captured instead. Black can capture back with the queen, check, and if the king moves to the left, then it is checkmate in 1 move. And if the king moves the other way, then knight takes pawn check is going to win the queen. So there's really no good option here. Therefore, taking the pawn is not the best response. Instead of that, the knight is captured. Now Boris Spassky continues by capturing on g3, creating a dangerous passed pawn and also opening up the h file. Now rook g1 is played, which is the best move, but let's look at what happens if the rook is traded off. Well, suddenly Spassky has complete and total control over the h file, and rook h1 is a threat. So let's see here, what if white were to play our knight to c3? Then we have check, and the only move is to block with the bishop, and then g2 is going to win back the material and prevent the white king from being able to castle. Or if the king does castle, then black is simply take with the rook and then promote the pawn to a queen. So this is losing for white. White's going to lose at least a piece here because of this passed pawn. So instead of trading off the rooks, we see rook to g1. And then there's this really, really amazing move that Boris Spassky plays. It's out of this world. It's really high quality, and this is what gives Boris Spassky the Immortal chess game title for this game. It's really, really, really awesome. So I want you to go ahead and pause the video to see if you can spot Spassky's next move, and see if you can find the winning move here, the move that is really brilliant. I'll go ahead and give you 5 seconds. You can pause the video as you want to look for this move. Okay, the correct move, believe it or not, is actually rook h1, sacrificing the rook. Now, if the rook is not captured, but maybe rook to f1, then simply g2 and black is completely winning. So the rook must be captured, but then we have g2 anyway, and here there's really no good option from white. He has to try and stop the passed pawn. He played rook to f1 in the game, so let's go ahead and take a look at what happens if rook to g1 is played. Well, then we have check, the king moves over, and then queen h1, and this is completely winning. I mean, how do you protect the rook? Really, the only way is to move the rook over to the king, but then black will then get 2 queens, so then maybe you trade the rook for the queen, and then bishop f1 is forced, leading into a checkmate. Now that is just amazing. That is, Spassky continues with queen h4 check, then king d1, and after capturing the rook, Bent Larsen resigns. Now Bent Larsen resigns because there is a forced checkmate in 3 moves here. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can find this forced checkmate in 3 moves. This is really awesome. Alright, so the answer is that after bishop takes, we have this check, and then no matter how white responds, it's a forced checkmate. If king c1, get a check here, checkmate. And if instead of that, bishop to e2, do you see the checkmate? Yes, it is queen h1, checkmate in 1. That is amazing. So this is a really awesome game. It's Boris Spassky's Immortal Chess Sacrifice. Really awesome. And this video illustrates what happens when you lose too many tempos due to pawn moves. So in the opening, you really don't want to make a lot of pawn moves. Make 1 or 2, then get all of your pieces developed. If you make a lot of pawn moves, you'll get behind in development, and you will become the defender. Your opponent will be able to attack you, and it'll be very, very difficult indeed to defend your position. So just remember to go ahead and develop all of your